The gatekeepers of Kemet's history are overwhelmingly Western European, who first came to Kemet a little over 200 years ago. Due to the contempt for Africans prevalent at that time, they tended to divorce Kemet from its true African connection. Kemet is in Africa, but the study of her history is seen as separate from the larger African history. Here it is called Egyptology, and is perhaps the one place in Africa whose origins, as they claim, are from outside of the continent. They've even chosen to explain away the meaning of the word Kemet, which the Kemetu called the land of the blacks. But they claim it refers to the land's soil, not the people. If this is indeed the case, regardless of its meaning, why not use the name its indigents refer to it as, rather than a Greek interpretation of the name? Religion in Kemet was a way for people to explain their surroundings. The sunrise and sunset. They modeled their deities after humans. They lived and they died. During the 13th Dynasty, Kemet had been attacked and conquered in parts by the Hyksos people of Western Asia. Their occupation of the land disrupted centuries of consistent African rule. After a century, King Ahmose I expelled them and established the new kingdom in Kemet's 18th dynasty. King Thutmose II, the fourth ruler of Kemet's 18th dynasty, sent a punitive expedition to what is now Palestine. Sadly, he fell very ill and died in his early 30s. He left behind a son, Thutmose III, who was too young to rule. So his stepmother, his late father's wife Hatshepsut, eventually governed Kemet. Hatshepsut went about re-establishing the trade routes interrupted by the invaders, and she became one of the most prolific builders in Kemet's history. And this building, hewn from a mountain, was her greatest ever achievement. The mortuary temple of Hatshepsut was built to commemorate this great queen, and as a sanctuary of the god Amun-Ra. It was designed by her chancellor Senenmut, and it lies about 17 miles northwest of Luxor, on the western side of the great capital. At only 22 years of age, Hatshepsut followed the example of her 18th dynasty predecessors and solidified her power with a short and successful military campaign to the south against the Kingdom of Kush. In the 9th year of her reign, she launched a massive expedition to the land of Punt, what would be Somalia today. Early depictions of her are quite feminine in appearance. As her reign progresses, the carvings and sculptures increasingly appear more masculine. She's even sometimes shown in the traditional garments of male rulers. She never had children. According to the Ebis Papyrus, she got her physicians to devise a formula to prevent her giving birth. This is the earliest form of contraception anywhere in the world. Hatshepsut reigned over 20 years before she died of cancer in her 50s. Her body was said to have been buried among the great rulers of the New Kingdom. Thutmose III, now an adult, assumed full power of Kemet, and he built on the gains made by Hatshepsut and is down as one of Kemet's great rulers of the New Kingdom. The 18th dynasty saw Kemet's power grow to an empire, and the people were all for it. So when Akhenaten, once known as Amenhotep IV, abandoned the deities of Kemet in favor of serving the singular god Aten, this was an unpopular decision. It was reversed almost immediately by his successor and son, Tutankhamun. Akhenaten's religious reform created social upheavals, which meant his successors in the 18th and 19th dynasties had to re-establish order in Kemet. Words cannot describe Luxor's importance in understanding Kemet's rich heritage. The area around Luxor has more sites per square kilometer than anywhere else in the land. In ancient times, it was called Waset and was once the capital of Kemet. Then the Greeks renamed it Thebes after the conquest of Alexander. Its current name, Luxor, is an Arabic-Latin reference to the forts and palaces which existed here. Many of these structures have been damaged or moved, but they still attract millions of tourists each year, like this one. These twin figures represent the 9th ruler of Kemet's 18th dynasty, the ruler Amenhotep III. Like many African rulers before him and after, he had numerous wives. But it was T, depicted here next to his mother Mutamwiya, who bore his son Amenhotep IV, who later became Akhenaten, the first royal to adopt the worship of one god, Aten. These are all symbols of rebirth and have withstood all the natural disasters that they faced. Horemheb was the last monarch of Kemet's 18th dynasty. He was a mighty king who ruled over 20 years and continued to dismantle the legacy left by Akhenaten. An elderly general in his army, named Ramses I, eventually took over and formed the 19th dynasty. He only survived for a short while before his son Seti I stepped in. On the west bank of the Nile, near Luxor city, you'll find a temple built in his honor. The area around it is also believed to be the birthplace of god Asa, or Osiris. Seti I was a strong king who led his armies into battle and reclaimed the territory lost during the reign of the pacifist Akhenaten. His reign lasted a decade, and this great monument at Abydos was his crowning architectural achievement. This temple was designed strictly based on the Osirian drama and was seen as one of the most sacred educational systems in Kemet. This is the Hall of Records. It shows Seti I pointing out to his son the 300 or so rulers of Kemet who came before him, a father preparing his son to understand the legacy from which he comes. Seti I ruled for over a decade and died only in his 40s. His tomb can be found in the nearby Valley of the Kings, as with other rulers of the New Kingdom. When the grave robbers dug up his tomb, his mummified body was still in very good condition. I'm moved by the achievements of the km.t along the Nile in Luxor, structures which stood the test of time. Before leaving, I was encouraged to engage in a sacred ritual, supposedly done by the km.t when they came into this room. Draped in a cloth, I make my walk in, say a prayer, then place my hands on these sacred walls. He then walks me outside to a small pool, which I imagine was once filled with fountains. But I'm not putting that water on my face. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. Wow. The New Kingdom consisted of some of the most famous rulers in Kemet's history. Alongside Ahmose I, Hatshepsut, and Thutmose III were Amenhotep III, Akhenaten, and Tutankhamun. But there is one other name whose legacy in deed and in architecture is known throughout the land. He was from the 19th Dynasty, its third ruler, and probably the most celebrated of all Kemet's rulers. Seti I's son, Usa Ma'atra Setepenra. Today we call him Ramses II, but from what he achieved and built, perhaps his moniker is more appropriate. Ramses the Great. At age 14, Ramses II was appointed as Prince Regent by his father Seti I. His reign saw more monuments created than any other of Kemet's rulers. As a soldier, he sought to expand Kemet's empires as far away as Syria and Lebanon today, documenting various aspects of the battles. Ramses II is the author of the world's first peace treaty, the evidence of which can be found at the Ramesseum temple he built to the god Ra.
Ramses II.
Ramses II, Ramses II, okay.
The second, okay. Thutmose.
First, Thutmose.
Yes, this capital.
Okay. So, okay. I'm not a fan of tour guides. They tend to repeat the same information they've been instructed, and very seldom are students of the site's history. This is one of the caretakers of the site. He first insists on taking me to the top of this mound. I'm not really sure what I'll see, but let's go along with it. It seems like a balcony of sorts, where the teachers would stare out at the students who passed through these halls. What I would give to be one of them.
Ramses.
This is Ramses.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, come.
Okay.
Ramses and granite black.
Ramses is black Africa,
Yes.
like me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And head is down and up.
Okay. But it's broken.
And this are broken.
Okay.
This is a cartouche name.
Cartouche.
Yes.
Ramses.
Ramses. This is Nubia. Look.
Nubia.
Nubia. Look. Wife. This is Amun. Amun came.
The god,
There's two.
The Kemetu are often dismissed for being animal worshippers, which simply isn't true. Like many African cultures even today, they recognize the characteristics of animals and adopt them in figurines. One doesn't ever question whether the English King Richard ever had a lion heart, yet Africans are often dismissed for adopting similar names. A dog can smell, a bull is strong, and a baboon represents intelligence. In Kemet, they were associated with the deity Tehuti, whom the Greeks named Thoth, husband of Ma'at. And it is from this African deity that we derive the word thought.
This is Memphis. This is Ibis.
Ibis, okay.
This Horus and up. This cow. This cow.
Okay. There's so much to this place that I can only imagine what it was like to walk through here back in the day. At least I wouldn't feel out of place. He went on to live until his 90s, leaving dozens of children and monuments across Kemet and Nubia in his honor. Seeing Egypt by road is one thing, but when this close to the Nile, one must at least get a taste of it. Tommy and I board a felucca from our hotel for a short cruise along this great river. It's winter, so the winds aren't great for this centuries-old sail to be manipulated by its captain. He goes old school, with strength and 2 oars. Where you from? New York? Egyptian? Salam alaikum. We're heading to Aswan tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you. Where in Egypt are you from? Where? Doshka. Which way is that? That's south as well. Okay. We're also going to Abu Simbel afterwards. Thank you. Tommy, you have a beautiful country. Beautiful country.
Luxor is amazing. Amazing country.
Luxor is amazing.
And Aswan is more amazing. We will be happy and more happy in Aswan.
Inshallah. Do many people in Egypt come to Luxor or no?
Yeah.
Most people stay in Cairo.
The traveling company organize every day a trip for Luxor and Aswan.
Egyptian people.
Egyptian people love this country and Aswan and visit it. More people visit Aswan and Luxor.
Really?
Really. But you get in Aswan the quiet, the natural, the kind people.
They insist on showing me the nearby banana island. Bananas everywhere. Bananas. There isn't much to see here beyond the vast banana trees, so we head back out. The sun is setting, and I want to catch Luxor Temple just before it gets dark. So we switch over to a motorized boat, and after a calm exchange between Tommy and our captain, we're on the way. Our new captain is a little more enthusiastic. The approach to Luxor Temple upriver on the Nile is truly a sight to behold. The Arabs, the Romans, and the Greeks, when they first sailed south on this same river and saw these African people going about their lives next to such a magnificent structure. It's one of the best preserved ancient monuments in the world. Construction was spearheaded by Amenhotep III, continued by Tutankhamun and Horemheb, then completed by Ramses II. We're on the wrong side of the entrance, and we need some transport. Luxor is a major tourist location, and Luxor Temple is high on people's priority lists. I've been here before, but never this late. But I can't help but be amazed by the beautiful lighting setup here. Unlike most other temples, Luxor wasn't dedicated to a specific god or ruler. It's dedicated to the rejuvenation of kingship, and is most likely where rulers were coronated. Imagine being a witness to that. Ramses II decorated the entrance with scenes of his military triumphs. These pylon towers originally supported 4 huge cedar flag masts from which banners would have fluttered in the breeze. Luxor Temple served as an important temple for traditional religion from the get-go. But it was a sacred site even before this, where an older temple once sat on this site, built by Hatshepsut. Even Alexander was amazed by this place, that he built a shrine inside the temple. At the rear, you'll find the Great Chapel, complete with frescoes of Alexander dressed as a km.t ruler. You really have to be here to witness all its grandeur. two great temples were once connected to each other via a 2-mile road. It was called the Avenue of the Sphinxes because it was lined with over 1,350 human-headed stone sphinxes. You can still see part of the road today. The route is currently undergoing excavation with the hope that one day tourists will be able to walk along it as the km.t did. The Avenue of the Sphinxes connected Luxor Temple to Karnak Temple. Karnak Temple will be our final stop in Luxor. A lot of these temples seem to refer to various gods, so it's important to understand who they are. Karnak in the Arabic language means fortified village. The temple complex consists of a number of temples, chapels, and other buildings in the form of a village. The name Karnak was given to this complex by its later Arabic conquerors. It was a cult temple and was dedicated to the gods Amun, Mut, and Khonsu. It was once regarded as the largest building ever constructed for religious purposes, the most select of places. During the New Kingdom, the Karnak Temple complex was the center of the ancient faith, while power was concentrated at Thebes, modern-day Luxor, and its significance is reflected in its enormous size. It also served as a treasury, administrative center, and palace for the New Kingdom rulers. It developed over a period of 1,500 years. Generation after generation of rulers added to it, resulting in a collection of temples, sanctuaries, pylons, and other decorations unparalleled across this great land, which is saying a lot. While the height of its importance was during the New Kingdom and during the reigns of famous pharaohs such as Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Seti I, and yes, you guessed it, Ramses II, they all contributed significant additions to the complex. Construction continued into the Greco-Roman period with the Ptolemies, Romans, and early Christians all leaving their mark here. Karnak Temple was built in alignment with the winter solstice to focus light on a shrine to the sun god more than 4,000 years ago. At winter, the sun travels the shortest path through the sky. That day therefore has the least daylight and the longest night. Christmas coincides with the winter solstice. In modern times, the birth of Jesus is said to be on Christmas Day, where the days begin to have more daylight in the northern hemisphere after a long, dark winter. The km.t deity Heru or Horus, predating the Jesus story by thousands of years, was also born on that day. And the km.t celebrated by decorating their homes with lush plants such as palm leaves and branches. Karnak Temple is kind of a pilgrimage site. Many flock here on Christmas Day just to witness the sunrise on its Holy of Holies. These obelisks can be found all over this region. The km.t call them tekens. They represent resurrection, or the missing organ of god Asa or Osiris, father of Horus. Some also refer to them as the first clocks, as one can tell what the time is based on the shadow cast by the sun. Of over 20 obelisks built across Kemet, only a few of them remain here. Many were taken and shipped off to cities such as which has 1, Rome, which has 3. There's another one in Paris, 2 in London, and 1 in New York. The mastery of these people to manipulate the sun as they did. The people of Kemet understood the use of light in a way we can only take for granted today. Whatever room I find myself in this temple, at some point in the day, light always finds its way in.